Good morning. It's Monday morning, the 28th of February. We're at the end of the month here. It's been a pretty eventful month, but Space Doodles are here. That's the big story, I'd say, of the day, maybe even just of the week in general. So we'll start off with that. But Tyler, how was your weekend is in NFTs?
It was good. I was actually unplugged a little bit. I was down in Nashville for the weekend, visiting a few friends. It was fun. Got away. Probably the most unplugged I've been from it for probably the last 12 months. But
Wow.
ready for another week, and there's already a lot on the docket. So excited to get into it.
Yeah, the weekend there wasn't any crazy pumps this weekend. Invisible Friends they revealed, and the floor is still sitting, I'd say, pretty well. I think when we last talked, I was saying it as long as they were over 5 Ethereum, I thought it was basically a win in that sense. And so they've been holding pretty well. I think they're around 6 now. But we've seen some high sales. There have been a couple over 100 ETH. So seems like people that held for the rare lotto worked out well. Anything takeaways from Invisible Friends besides that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely trending down a little bit, right? I think I saw this morning it was getting sub 6, some 5.7 ish. We saw some high sales at the top end, right? Like 110 ETH, a few sales. So again, not many sets have top end sales that high. So that definitely goes to show, it speaks about the market demand for the project. It's still like such a rough macro environment to launch new projects in.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a real good read on it.
I want to say it's a success in that sense because like you said, it's a tough market right now to be launching something of that high of hype. People are comparing it to Hape, people are comparing it to Mechaverse, and I feel like it's clearly been better in the way I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's a fair comparison at all.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's going to continue being lumped in right on NFT Twitter just because those are the products that had the floor prices, and people are victory lapping the price drop already, which is annoying and frustrating.
Yeah, I honestly am opposite of victory lapping. Like it's always going to be a little higher pre-reveal in general because buying something at 9 Ethereum that's now 6 Ethereum, but you had the potential to have that 110, or there's been a bunch over 30 that I think it's worth the 3 downside risk. And some of those people are just holding it. Maybe it'll be 10 again someday. So I don't think it was as bad as possible. The other big story, I guess, going off that point was the Pixelmon reveal, which is becoming the new meme of Twitter. Kevins now are booming. The floor of a Kevin is a 3.5. And for those who don't know, Kevin is the image that you might have seen that's like a zombie in the grass, and he's got like the brains coming out of his head. And that's the one that a lot of people were posting on Twitter. And I think there's only about 80 of them. So there's been a push where people are thinking, oh, this is the meme now. I need one. And it went from under a 1 ETH floor to now, around 3.5. I think there have been a few sales around 4, but Tony wants to see a Kevin, so I'm going to show the Kevin. I actually thought about this when I was just seeing it everywhere. It was like, oh, sometimes these are the things that pump for no reason. There's another one like this. I'm trying to think what it was. Like, well, in the negative sense, the Misfits. Do you remember the Misfits?
Mm-hmm.
They had the thing with like the duct tape where all of a sudden those were the only ones selling. That's a little more negative of a comparison, but what's your thought on these Pixelmon? Because a lot of people were freaking out about it.
I mean, it became like an immediate laughing stock, right? And 70 million was raised for this project, and they've got art, right, that is is about as bad as anything that we've ever seen. But now this Kevin narrative has taken over, and there are people who are seriously saying this is going to be one of the most valuable collectibles that comes out of this year, just because of how tremendous of a failure this is. and this
Yeah.
being, the most ridiculous one potentially in the set. So, I mean, times are tough for Pixelmon minters, right? Didn't it? It minted out at like 3 ETH, right? And the floor is at 0.4, so just an immediate 90%
Yeah.
drop it is never good. But I was not prepared for the Kevin narrative, and it sounds like it's kind of turned into maybe to a positive. So like from what I understand, the Pixelmon Discord is all just Kevin memes at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm happy some people are having fun with it.
Yeah. I think my initial take was it was an overreaction of people with the art side. I think if they didn't have the ability to see it in the world first, and this was the image that you got, I think people would have taken it a little better. But I think the problem was there were people that like their character was just in the grass and you couldn't even see it. Some people were saying they got an invisible one. People are comparing it to like the Microsoft, the old Microsoft background. So I think it's just kind of how the reveal happened and it was already down that people just were further negative towards it. Because when it
Right.
comes down to it, like it's called Pixelmon. It's pixelated Pokemon. Like the art wasn't supposed to be the big factor, I think. But it is funny how some of these came out. The ape one was kind of funny as well. So yeah, those basically the big stuff over the weekend. And then for this week now, the big thing is going to be the Space Doodles later today. As you know, people probably know just from my Twitter profile picture, I do have a doodle. So I am excited about the spaceships, and it's doing something a little different than other projects have done. We had they're calling it a non-dilutive. So a lot of projects have been doing companion drops or just in general different ways of adding supply to your project in the way of airdrops or tokens. And this is a way to wrap your NFT on chain and add some flair to it, I guess is how they're kind of wording it. So what's your take as someone do you have a doodle? I don't think you did.
I've had some in the past. I'm currently doodleless. It's interesting. It's innovative, right? It's different. We haven't really seen this model before. And I've seen some early praise, right? There's definitely some high expectations. We're playing the stream from their Twitter page here. What I've heard some chatter about is how this could potentially prop the floor up a little bit. So you have a floor doodle, but now you got a rarer space capsule. Now that they're tied together, there's a chance that's going to help support the floors potentially. And the rarer doodles won't necessarily need it as much. So they probably wouldn't benefit necessarily, or maybe your doodle just like looks really sick in the space capsule, right? So there's some potential upside, but it's not going to be the same as the airdrops we've seen in the past, right? That we've seen like that BAYC particularly kind of made famous, and it's kind of set the standard for with the dogs and the mutants, right? They're not going to be standalone NFTs that you can trade. So I don't know that it likely won't be the same financial impact as some of the other like first round airdrops have been for the blue chips. But I think most of the holders understand that at this point. What I'm curious about is like what we're going to see on the OS page. Like, are we going to see both, or is it just what the owners have chosen then to be the representation?
The way that I understand it is you could leave it yourself or you wrap it and it basically creates this wrapped version of the NFT. Now, they don't want to compare it exactly to CryptoKitties, but I think it has a lot of similarities to stuff that CryptoKitties have done with wrapping in the past. So I think the way that it'll be shown is either with the capsule or there's another I think it's a separate collection that has the wrapped versions. But I
Okay.
don't but I'm not sure exactly how that side of it is going to work because you can't sell them separately.
Right.
So That's the part that I'm not 100% on, is they are going to be within the same NFT. The way that the lemons did it is they had a little button on the top left within OpenSea itself where you could switch back and forth. But I think you have to physically go in and wrap it. So on chain, it has both sides, the doodle and the space doodle, and you can choose which one is shown.
Got
That's
it.
how I understand it.
And I was curious if there would be any way to like hide it or not reveal your space cap, so that it's kind of like the unrevealed cool pets or things that people think could accrue value over time, or like the serums that haven't been used yet.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
From.
And what Logan's saying is he's wondering if this is the safe way to mitigate risk. Logan, can you reword that question? I think he's asking, is this a way to introduce new drops in a sense, but not hurt the project
without execution risk?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, the execution risk is that people don't really like the space caps that much, and this whole wrapping process isn't really that well received. And then the Ford price drops.
Right.
But will this follow the standard price arc that we see, right? Where if like Cool Pets came out of the gate priced at 2.5 ETH, we saw the Cool Cats floor drop by that margin essentially once the pets were minted. We likely won't see that same specific price arc. But I am curious to see if we're gonna, we didn't have a huge run up ahead of this that I thought maybe we would see. The Doodles got below 10 when everything crashed a bit last week. Now they're back to like 12, I want to say. I feel like they'll probably hold up. I'm not expecting a huge drop for the Dudes.
Yeah. So from their Discord, I pulled up one of their messages to see a little bit. So it does say the main incentive is you're getting more burnt toast art without paying for additional. And then the token ID will map exactly to the original collection, and that doodle ID is the property, is a property in the new collection. So you are the only one who can trade your doodle, but they are vaulted in the smart contract that you can't do anything to it, or give it to another person as just the space doodle. So I think you have to sell them as a pair.
Yep.
Essentially. So it's going to appear like it's a separate collection, but I don't think you can sell it. I think you have to sell your main doodle and both come with it, kind of thing.
That makes sense. I mean, it's also like pretty interesting timing with Invisible Friends and now the new animated meta, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think people generally liked the Invisible Friends art in the animated style, right? Putting price aside, and now Doodles have an animation feature, and we're still a little bit early. Twitter doesn't allow the animated PFPs yet, but when that's unlocked, I could definitely see a little more value coming back to the set because of the animation feature. So I think it's definitely a positive.
Yeah, and Star Catchers that came out last week had some animated traits as well, which I think people appreciated. I think they put a little bit of a premium on those. They're not floor traits. They had like sunglasses that sparkled, and they had one that was like blowing a piece of gum, like a bubble. So I do agree. It does seem like a lot of these projects are moving a little more towards the animated style to it. So I think those will be good. And then this is the big thing. I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern is when people will start be able to wrap them. So we'll probably see later tonight posts on Twitter, or if there's a delay or anything, because almost everything gets delayed these days. Invisible Friends did not get delayed, which was, I think, bullish as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is this World Wide Web. So they're opening up their apartment builder today, and this is World Wide Web kind of not started, but has helped push a little bit of the style of like land back into full focus, and being able to have your own uh, projects NFTs living in one place, and they're calling it apartments basically. So I'm not sure, do you have any of the World Wide Web stuff?
Similar. So I previously picked up a few apartments and then actually sold most of mine off in this last run up when the whole metaverse sector just went, uh, you know, nuclear and everything forward to 10x in value. But definitely World Wide Web Land is one of the top metaverse projects right now. I'd say behind NFT worlds, it's World Wide Web and Treeverse are probably the next two in line, I'd say. So I know a lot of folks have been waiting eagerly for this. They rolled out the games first, and those were pretty popular. They've had some of the digital parties and events, and now everyone's gonna be able to start to customize the apartments. I think what was interesting for me, my takeaway from this is it's pretty similar to what Treeverse allows you to do as an owner. Whereas you can go into your apartment, you can set up furniture, you can move things around, and then you can display your NFTs. Let's see if I keep scrolling down through the thread. So here's an example, right, of an apartment. And here you have the furniture table in the middle, you have your character down here in the bottom, and then you have some of your NFTs on display on the wall. You could pick different frame sizes. It's definitely similar, right? I know there's not a whole lot that you can probably do in a 2D animated metaverse play right now. I'll say I was probably a little disappointed when I did see this, and I think that it goes to my overall thesis on our current metaverse projects is we don't have the clear winner yet, and I think some of the biggest brands and companies will eventually get in, and with more established game developers, world developers, and we'll probably have a product that blows this all out of the water. So I feel like we're definitely like Gen 1 still of all this, but
But I would say is like they're about 2.5 ETH floor. Like, to me, I don't think NFT Worlds is going to be 5 times better than this, though.
It's tough. I feel like the NFT Worlds model is a little bit different. It's
More
like a
earning.
launch pad for brands, for companies to try to build their own metaverse from that, as I understand it. Where this is a little bit more for retail or personal use. I'd say I would say that this announcement was already priced in for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see the floor rocket up based on this, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to crash. It'll likely trade in the same range that it's trading in.
People will probably try out the apartment builder, especially if they're holders, because I think people that have bought in more recently are trying to play the game, try out the apartment builder, throw up some of their NFTs onto the wall. So I think, like you said, it is set up a little differently as far as this is closer to like the CloneX. They had their pods, which are a little more 3D-esque, which, to your point, like maybe this isn't something that is meant to be 2D as much. I think the 3D aspect of like walking through a room and turning the corner and seeing the stuff on the wall is probably a better experience for a lot of people.
I would tend to agree. It feels a little bit more metaverse, like virtual world like. With all that being said, like I don't want to come across totally negative. Hang your NFTs. If you own some of these, put your NFTs up in the room. It's fun. Like I did it back when Treeverse first came out. There's chat functionality. I want to say Treeverse had chat functionality. I'm sure that Webland does too, or it will. Hang out in your room, look at your NFTs. It's fun. That's one of the core utility features of this NFT. So definitely go do it. set up your apartment,
Yeah.
and have fun with it.
Cool. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention on the web stuff, or
Not too much on
good
Webland.
there?
I think we covered it.
Yeah. Cool. So then, while we're on like current projects that are already doing stuff, I guess this is probably a good time to switch to Azuki, even though that's a little later in the week. But so Azuki announced the highly anticipated, I guess I'd say this has been their biggest, I guess, roadmap, like project moving forward piece since they've launched, called Bobu, who is this character, as you see on the screen, who they are essentially fractionalizing him and creating this first ever version of a fractionalized IP governance of one character in a project. So this is part of the Azuki universe, and Bobu, it's going to happen on Sunday. And they have a supply of 20,000 fractions at 0.01 ETH each. So implied valuation is at 200 ETH. So what's sort of your initial takeaway on this?
So that's exactly where my head went when I very first saw this. Is 200 ETH implied valuation for this character? That seems high. But then I read more about it, and I don't think you can interpret it strictly that way. So the funds are going to a multi-sig Gnosis wallet that will be used for the community members to vote and execute on proposals to build things around this character as a part of the lore and overall Azuki story. So it's not like you are buying this from the Azuki team and they take the money. It is essentially a crowd race. It's crowdsourcing a fundraise. So I think that makes me think about it a little bit differently. And so they say full details in the Discord. So I've been in the Discord, read the announcement. They eventually want to turn it fully over to the community. So, right now out the gate, the team is going to control everything and start to drive it, which is the right idea. I don't think a brand new community of fractional owners will be ready right out the gate, to take on leadership and execution of the vision and the project. But the idea is over time, they're going to have elections as people in the community start to step up and assert themselves. Those folks will start to take on more leadership roles and driving this forward. And again, like we said, innovation for the space caps. This is another big innovation, and I certainly applaud it. I think it's a cool idea. Now, like I wouldn't, from an investment standpoint, I don't think coming into this thinking you're going to 5 or 10x your bet is the right mindset right now. I mean, certainly that could happen, right. But it's a different play. It's more of sense of belonging in the product, a sense of being able to control the direction of a core character. And also, it's a lower entry point. So for folks who've been following Azuki and think it's a really cool project, but don't have 10 ETH, which is a substantial amount of money to be able to join an NFT community, this is a way to get in. And they've already said you can use the PFP on Twitter. Then there'll be certain channels in the Discord for this as well. So I like the lower entry.
Yeah, it's cool to see that they're trying to allow more. It's another way, similar to Doodles, I guess. It's another way to not add additional supply, but allow people to be involved. And it's sort of a different way of doing that, where you're still buying into it, but you can buy in at lower cost. Like we've seen things like Rally Road have had fractionalized punks, and just fractions in general. A lot of people that have lower bankrolls feel like they're a part of it if they buy into it. I know Logie has the punk hat from investing in the punk on Rally Road, and so there's probably ways that you could only go in. Maybe you get 10 of these fractions for 0.1 Ethereum. Then you could say you're a part holder in Azuki, and you're probably eligible for Azuki merch, and Bobu specifically, probably the Bobu merch. But do you know, was this already purchased by them, or did they hold this one back?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming that they held this back and it was
Mm-hmm.
held out of the supply.
Yeah.
As I want to say, this has been a part of their kind of plan and vision for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is gonna happen on Sunday. It's through fractional dot art, um, which obviously we've seen them do a lot of cool stuff before. They've fractionalized things like Bored Apes and Punks, but it's generally been from the owner. This is coming from the project, so that's where it's a little different here. So something new, something cool, and it's been on their roadmap. It'll be cool to watch it go through and be executed. We'll see how quickly this 20,000 supply goes through. Not sure. I'm not sure what the demand is going to be for this, honestly. Uh, zero 0.01 ETH like sounds, oh, it's cheap, but like you were saying, it's hard to see as much upside. So I don't know how much demand is going to be buying 100 of these to get 1 ETH worth. Not sure how many
Yeah,
people will do that, but I'm sure there will be some big whales like that.
yeah. I honestly don't have I don't have a great read on it right now. To your point, it's a larger supply. It is a lower price point. They've also kind of come out and said you can buy more than one, but right now the governance is per owner. So if you have 10 tokens, I have one. We have the same votes right now, as I understand
Yeah.
it. So that's going to impact the demand a bit, I would imagine. But I also say one feature that I really appreciate the fractional.art team rolled out is the ability to trade your fractions as NFTs. I
Yeah.
think they're in the different token standard, and I'm forgetting if it's 1155 or 721 or what the standard is. But that does allow back end liquidity and potential exit. So let's say you did come in and bought 10 of these, and then down the road, like I don't need 10 fractions. I'm going to try and sell half of those back. It's an easier process to do that with the tradable NFTs than it was originally in fractional.art v1, where the liquidity pool was up to the owners to set.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's a nice feature.
Yeah. And like I said, that'll be on Sunday. And then let's talk a little about some drops for this week. I think the first one we were going to talk about is the sunnies, which will be later today. If you were on the whitelist, so it's 0.05 ETH for each. They have 9,141 supply. So the lower price point is one thing that I noticed that to me, like a hyped project that's coming in below 0.1, it's kind of refreshing to get back to that now. I think people have learned that this is something that we aren't like people don't want to be paying 0.25 or 0.15 for minting everything anymore. So it's nice to see the lower mint price on this, and I've seen people talking about it because it has that cute meta kind of feel to it. So what's your initial take on the sunnies?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. It's the lower price points. That's always going to have, it's going to be a little more attractive. I, I was just kind of looking through the roadmap and whatnot this morning. It's, I wouldn't say it's going to blow you away going through it. We are in the pre-sale right now, and it looks like over 3,700. I'll refresh here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, almost half, over half, because it's the 9,100 supply. So they're half
Yeah.
out, and it's sitting at 0.125. And we know, in this space, if the secondary is trading at a premium to mint price, then we're going to see it's going to sell out, right? And it likely will be a slight gas war.
Mm-hmm.
So it clearly there's demand for the set. I want to say that they may have had a closed Discord. I don't know. Were you able to get into the Discord at all?
No,
Yeah.
that was it.
So I think some of the information has been maybe kept a little bit more private.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I'm definitely a strong start here on Monday. So I think they'll certainly sell out tomorrow. It looks
Yeah.
like 24-hour pre-sale, and then the public sale will be tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it says the max 5 per wallet on the public sale, which I'm a lot more bullish when they say per wallet versus per transaction, because that it's hard to fully limit bots in general because
Mm-hmm.
I mean you can just make unlimited wallets, but it does limit them to an extent because they can't just run the bot in the same wallet each time. So we'll see. I mean, if there's only going to be a few thousand left, it's still probably going to be hard and could be a gas war. At 0.05, if we're seeing them trade it at that 0.15 ish range, like people will still probably go for them in the public pretty hard. So we'll see. I've seen people talking about these. They have similar vibes to those of like the Lemons Discord. Um, and what's the one that there's another one that came out this past weekend. There's all these like turtle ones. This like Turtle Town one came out this past weekend, and it's very similar style of like the simplistic art, but like the cute to it. We'll see if they're all going to be animated like this, because like you said, it seems like animated PFPs are becoming more of a thing, but they can't really be PFPs at that point. So I'm not really sure. On that, because that's the big thing people have been talking about with Invisible Friends is they don't really come out well as a PFP because a lot of the cool aspect to it is them walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know if sunnies is going to have that feature or not. I mean, clearly their placeholder here has some animation behind it, but we've seen that before. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be mixed feelings on the animation. I currently like it. It might be maybe because it's different and it's new, but there's going to be the drawbacks. And then how are you going to take a screenshot of it, or how are you going to get the picture to use? So
Yeah,
a little bit of downside.
yeah. Cool. And then the next one that I think is going to be relatively big, they have a lot of cool sponsorships, is the Rubber Duck Bath Party. So I thought it was cool because duck.art is their website, but the website itself is pretty cool. I don't think I can hear the sound on it though, but when you switch through each of the like pages, it quacks at you.
Mm-hmm.
Or it has like the squeak of like a rubber ducky. So there has been a rubber duck collection.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you remember that there were rubber ducks with a Z at the end, but the issue with that one, it was a smaller collection. There was only like 2,000 of them or something, but they didn't have any traits. So it's impossible to like search on them or find any sort of rarity. I think they're basically all just one of ones, but they don't even have traits. So I think that one hurt it. But this rubber duck bath party, I've seen them connecting with a lot of other brands. Like Cool Cats is one that they've been giving out whitelists to. This is sort of the new meta. It's partnering with other successful projects and giving out whitelists through their discords. And that's what I've seen with this rubber duck bath party. So what's your take on this one?
So when I first came to the page here this morning, my initial reaction was, all right, rubber ducks, come on, like what is this? But then as I read it about the project and got into it a little bit more, it's cool. They've got a cool idea. So we got to talk about these bath parties.
Yeah.
So let's just read it right off the page. Bath parties are virtual events having a blockchain. No party is the same. The only thing we can promise is that your duck will come home changed forever. So the parties run for 24 hours. Each of the owners can decide if they want to attend the party or not. And then that inevitable walk of shame here, hit the reveal button to see how they came back from the party. Let's hope they didn't lose that priceless family heirloom. So essentially, if you have a rare duck or a duck with a rare trait headed into a party, you could potentially lose that trait. But on the flip side, if you have more of a floor, you could attend the party, come back, and have potentially the rarest one. And then they update the metadata and everything on OS and with the NFT. So it's definitely a cool idea. I don't know that we've seen that before. Have you seen that?
Not in this way. I think they're making it like a fun, cool way of doing it. You could argue it's somewhat like what the Doodles are doing with the spaceships, where you can trade in a trait. Avastars did something like that where theirs was more like burning a trait. So I'm not sure if this is burning the trait or what, but yeah, I haven't seen something like specifically like this. There's other stuff that's similar where you could sort of re-roll traits.
Mm-hmm.
What was that one? The previous meme that, what was it, Charlie or that, what were those polymorphs, I
Polymorphs,
think?
yeah.
They had something like this
You
where
could
you could
re-roll
re-roll
traits.
traits. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what this is or not, but I'm interested to see. I kind of want to get one or two and see. I might even be on the wait list now that I think of it. Um, but I kind of want to get one or two and see what these bath parties are all about, because it says it's not going to cost gas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you just sit and wait the 24 hours. But I'm also bullish about when projects do things like this that forces people to not list it for the 24 hours. That's usually healthy for um, just the floors in general and price movement, because it's somewhat like a staking project in
Yeah,
that
it's a
sense.
different form of staking at that
Yeah,
point.
but that, I mean, it looks cool, and like they're doing something different. Like a lot of these projects all just do the same thing. Whether or not this is like something else, like they're calling it a bath party, and they're probably going to make it fun based on what their current website looks like and the interactive of it. Like I'm sure it's going to have some fun to it.
Yeah, I mean, they say that right on the page. It says bath parties are incredibly fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they're able to really make that become true. But I like the idea. I actually missed this the first time I went through it. That the number of parties your duck attends will be encoded as well and could influence potential things. So now they've got like a party animal duck, right? Maybe it becomes valuable.
Oh, yeah, like you went to 5 parties. Now it's like the most parties could be a trait that is desirable.
I mean, ultimately, all it's gonna depend on if the market values these things or not, right?
Right,
To how
right.
the set holds up, but it's fun, it's different. So I definitely have uh, a better take, on the project. It's definitely more fun. I like what they're doing after spending a little more time reading through it.
Yeah. It's kind of, but not the same as like what Chain Faces did in a way, where you send it in, you get it back with like the new trait. But um yeah, I'm interested to see how this one turns out. I think it could be good. It could have some like meme worthy pumps to it if it is successful, and if the art does come out like kind of cool. It does have a very simple art style to it, which hopefully there's enough different traits and there's enough of them that can look differently. Like if they're all yellow, like that could be negative effect on it, but I'd assume there's probably some that come out better. Maybe they have animations to it. Like the one that's got his head bobbing in the center there with the glasses. Like
Hmm.
that'd be a cool one to have, I think.
Yeah, I like that one. I'd be happy if I pulled that guy.
Yeah. So that one is starting
Wednesday.
their pre-sale tomorrow, and
Oh,
then
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
Wednesday
you're right.
for the sale. 0.08 per duck, and there's going to be 10,000 of them. Not sure how many are on the pre-sale list, but the artist, Gal Shear, he has like a decent sized following on socials, and they have some story behind it on him and that sort of thing if you dig into the website a little bit. So it seems high effort for something that at first glance looks lower effort, I guess is how I'd word it.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. So again, I first came to the page like, RubberDucks. Like, is this just another cash grab? But it seems like there's some thought that went into this.
Hmm.
It's a cool new idea. Point oh 0.08. I got to be honest, it's on the high end, right? Like, we were kind of applauding the sunnies previously because it was 0.05. Point oh 0.08 is getting up there a little bit, but I expect this will likely mint out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, again, it might depend on how many people are on the pre-sale, but um I could see this one having decent push on like Twitter, and it's a somewhat lighter week. So that might benefit it. Like if this dropped last week, it might have been hurt a little more. So yeah, rubber duck bath party.
Just quickly, like 1 minute on that topic. So I was looking through the numbers, the products that traded the most revenue last week.
Yeah.
5 of the 6 were the new projects, and they traded 60,000 ETH. 60,000 ETH traded last week on products that didn't exist 2 weeks ago.
And a lot of it was Invisible Friends. I know that they're way ahead, which makes sense. But you're mentioning what Starcatchers, Wonder Pals, Dented Feels,
Three-landers,
right? And Three-landers.
The Tubbies were up there.
Yeah.
And one other.
People are just chilling on the old projects, I guess. So a lot of those floors bounced back after the, as we were calling, like the great delisting. It's nice to see, but a lot of floors reset, and you could tell like the good floors reset to what I guess you'd call like a better price. I think Cool Cats are still under 10. Doodles are around 12, but they have the spaceship stuff coming on. A lot of those that are still around 10 are. The Three-landers had one of the big pumps of basically any project outside of like Invisible Friends. They got up to around 3. So that one was pretty positive. People seem to be excited about that project.
Yeah, they're one of the big winners for sure.
Then I guess the last one I wanted to bring up, sort of going off of the point you made at the end here, was the Braindom Games. So this one looks, I don't know, it's hard to grasp on this one because it does seem somewhat cash grabby because it's a high mint price. I'm comparing it to the beans, the ways that you could dye that project. However, I think the art on this one's going to come out better. The beans were just such bland art, and they were minting at 0.25 Ethereum. But Braindom Game, they already have existing working games on app stores, and I'm not sure, looking at the stats of this, how many of these are like nitpicky, but they say they're the number one top free app, and then the top for word games, trivia games, and puzzle games. So I've heard of these, like the Braindom Games before, but this drop is going to be 9,999 NFTs, and it was 0.35, right, for the mint price.
Yeah, let's see if we can find it here. I knew it was either 0.25 or 0.35, and it's not even on there.
Yeah.
Main page here.
So what's your sort of take on these like projects that they already have a top game, and they're trying to, in a sense, I think, just raise funds for further building out the game?
Yeah, so there's pros and cons. So, I mean, the pros first, like clearly this team is a top team and is credentialed and experienced, right? If they've got a number one free app, if they've got the number one word game and trivia game, I mean, those are real stats, and assuming that they're true. And then, their Twitter page, they've got 100,000 followers, right? So that they clearly have the following. I guess kind of what I think so those are the upsides, right? And then I think the risk or the downside is I don't totally understand yet how like the NFT fits with the game. And then of course there's the price point. So I mean 0.25, it's a lot, right? Especially at 10,000 supply. So this is going to be a big raise. And we see a lot of pushback in the market now when those mint prices are too high. So like NFT ethics, like, are they going to come out with a threat against this?
I think that's like the new like concern. The downside risk is NFT ethics going to cover this? Because we didn't see them bring anyone down last week.
It's true. I think the mint prices were generally a little bit lower last week. Well, I guess Invisible Friends was 0.25, so this is the same as that. But This one wasn't on my radar really. Like I'm not familiar with the game. You said you know it. Okay, so it is 0.25 ETH.
Yeah, 0.25, and then 0.25, and then I'm going to put in the chat the pre-mint raffle. There's 275,000 people in the Discord, but it and 115,000 following them on Twitter. But it's weird because I think it's still more legit than other projects that have like 200,000, because this has 150 million downloads. So like people know what this is already, and that's why I'm having a little tough time struggling with it. But it's the 0.25 mint that is really kind of scaring me off. If this was 0.08, I think I'd be pretty interested in it. But yeah, like you said, I'm not sure how this is going to be implemented into the current game. If they're creating a new game based around this, then that could really change things as well. They've always been a free app, so why are they asking people to spend, what is the $600-700 now? So to me, that side of it feels a little cash grabby. But I would expect that this probably sells out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to sell out. And here, let's take a look at the roadmap. So, developing free puzzle games, reaching first. Okay, so this is the things they've completed. All right, so level 4, crafting the character and implementation of a benefit structure for holders. So, I mean, if there's some type of revenue sharing or additional utility, I could see it. But I've come on the show and I've said, one of my primary investment theses for 2022 is betting on teams. Yeah. And clearly this is a good team. So I want to know a little bit more about what they intend to do with the fundraise and potential, utility for holders. But this is definitely, I mean, it's a marquee project, so definitely one to pay attention to.
Yeah, and my understanding of it is they are creating this, what they're calling a survivor game. And I'm not sure if that is going to be like the PUBG Fortnite style, but I believe they're just integrating that to, you have MetaMask, and you're using your character in the game. That's what my initial take was from it. I think once the project starts minting and revealing, we'll see if there's maybe like stats based on the characters that are different, or if it's going to be like a rarity based project. 'Cause that's somewhat my concern with these that have the game attached to it, is people, at least as of now, buy stuff off of rarity. But a lot of times the rarity almost doesn't matter in games. It's more like the stats of your players. So I think that'll be something that I'll be looking at. But again, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to go for this. I think if I get on the whitelist and can mint it, I might do that. But if this is going to be one of those where there's, 2,000 left and it's going to be a gas war starting at 0.25 that comes out at like 0.6 or something, then I'll probably pass. But it's tough. I keep going back and forth on this one because I could see it being successful because of how big of a following it was. But I already had that fail when I tried with the beans.
Yeah. And I mean, for folks who are on the fence, I mean, it's always safest just to watch.
Yeah,
right?
watch
and pass, and then try to. You can either fast follow if you find out more information that makes you change your thesis or makes you more bullish.
Yeah.
And play the secondary, or wait for the next one. Right? There's as we see in this world, there's new products that come out every week.
Yeah.
So there'll always be another opportunity.
Yeah. And just quickly, they have a few different projects that they've teamed with, giving out the whitelist. So I'll just name a couple of them off because some of them are funny, at least to me. But so they have Goonsy Gang, Fanta Bear is one that they use. MTG, I don't know. Do you remember them? The More Than Gamers.
Okay, yeah, it's ringing a bell, but you'll have to catch me up a little bit.
They're another one that they were like this 3D artwork style, but they basically they're trying to get people connected to projects connected to video games. They have like video game nights and things like that. I guess it's like thematic in a way that they want their holders to be gamers, but then Killer Girlfriend also is one. So they've been like grouping up with some interesting projects, more recent projects, and not like massive name projects, but it seems like they're going for these other gaming projects in a way.
Interesting. Well, I mean, we know. It's definitely on like the path to success to minting out is to get a very hyper demanded whitelist, and then just allow your whitelist to essentially mint out your project at this point. And that's the model of early 2022 so far. Hearing Fanta Bay or Killer GF, so clearly they're going after a little bit of the Asian meta, the anime as well there. But yeah, there's definitely some very different projects. But maybe that's what they're going for. Different cohorts, broader Venn diagram.
Yeah, and sort of based on that, like I wonder if they are targeting. They obviously have their own analytics of who plays their games. So maybe more people in that part of the world are playing their games. So that's why they're sort of targeting that market. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't really think of that until I started looking at the specific teams that they're connected to on there. So yeah, that'll be one. Like I said, like I'm probably just gonna watch it. I think if I was someone who had the game downloaded on my phone and like had played them before, I might be more interested in it. But we'll see how it goes. I just thought this one was an interesting one to bring up, and it's that high 0.25 mint cost that currently is having me think I'm not going to participate.
Yeah, same. I need to do a little bit more research, but definitely one to pay attention to.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, we are excited to see what's going on with all these projects that we've mentioned today. We'll be back on Thursday, as now we have on. Let me bring that back up. Our buddy John made this graphic for us on the background, so now we have the schedule on the bottom. I'm going to be talking with the Axo Littles on their what they're doing in their project more recently later tonight, and then tomorrow we may or may not have the NFT show with Preston. I know he's doing. There's some updates they're doing on his studio, so that may or may not happen. But then Wednesday, another Project Mythical Creatures upcoming that we'll be bringing on, and then Thursday we'll be back here. 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back on our regularly scheduled time this week. There's not any Penelope roadmaps dropping this week and in marble races that need to be done. So we'll be back to the 4 p.m. time, and hopefully be able to have positive things to say about some of these projects that are launching in the next few days. So thanks for stopping in. If you guys listened, we'll be uploading the audio as well to the podcast feeds. I haven't really been plugging those as much, but I know there are people that only listen on the podcast. So thanks for listening. If you're an audio subscriber, obviously subscribe to the channel, like us. If you're interested and have thoughts on upcoming projects next week, throw them in the comments and we'll be sure to talk about them. I do know a few already that are coming up next week that we'll probably touch on, but yeah, thanks for stopping in Monday. If you're on this Top Shot queue that's happening later, good luck. There's a thing for Series 1 packs, but I think you had to have like 300 trade tickets kind of thing. So if you're in on that, good luck. I know some people in some of my Discords are. So thanks for stopping in, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.